Welcome, eCom Logistics Nation. We're thrilled to be coming to you live from the heart of Atlanta at Modex 2024, right here at the Georgia World Congress Center. A shout out to our sponsor, G&P Construction, your go-to provider for comprehensive turnkey material handling and solutions in both logistics and commercial needs. We are truly grateful for the support.
A lot of people have invested into that automatic storage and retrieval, AMRs, the kind of fancy stuff, the auto stores. It has created that bottleneck. I mean, it's great to have all that stuff, but if it can't get out the door, then you really haven't solved the entire problem.
Welcome, eCom Logistics Podcast Nation. We are here again at Modex with our friend Steve Pickfield from PSI Engineering. Welcome, Steve.
Well, thank you for having me.
Great pleasure.
To be here.
Our pleasure.
Yeah, we got another Canadian company on the show today. Steve's team's amazing.
Yes,
champions for us. I have to just do a shout out as we begin for Tom for the amount of he has championed our presence online. Like, you will rarely find a post from Fulfillment IQ or eCom Logistics Podcast online where you will not see a response from Tom.
100% agree.
Tom's been a staple of our organization for like 20 years, and he deserves that shout out.
Yeah.
He's a big part of our organization.
Amazing.
Beautiful. Well, for those that are listening, this conversation is going to be very focused on the last 100 feet in the operations of a warehouse facility. But before we go there, Steve, would you provide a little bit about your background, your journey in the space, and the team you're leading at PSI?
Yeah, I've been around automation in both manufacturing, but 6 years ago I joined PSI Engineering. Actually, 6 years ago right now at Modex was my first day with PSI
another
Engineering.
Day one at a conference, man.
Modex. What a way to start. No, and wow, the growth of Modex.
Yes.
And really my first venture into pure material handling industry. And I'm the chief commercial officer, and PSI focuses only on the automation of that last 100 feet, or what's also often referred to as the SLAM area.
Okay.
And it's really when discrete orders have already been sorted, picked, and you've got that discrete order that needs all of what we call the magic done to it in order for getting shipped and to the final destination. And it's primarily related to e-commerce shipments, e-commerce distribution centers, and that automation of that last 100 feet.
Is that something PSI has been doing for a while as their specialization, or have you evolved into that?
No, we manufacture. We do two things. We manufacture print-on-demand products for that last 100 feet, and we also provide full systems, SLAM systems. But PSI has been doing the manufacturing of these type pieces and been in the printing space for warehouses for over 20 years. Oh. And so we were early on into the SLAM area, but it's now been recognized as one of the most fastest growing automation areas in distribution side.
Can you expand upon the term SLAM? SLAM.
Yeah.
What does it even stand for?
It stands for scan, label, apply, and manifest, which is, it doesn't encompass everything that happens in that last 100 feet. But it certainly does. Well, it's a snazzy name too, so
right.
It's got some cachet.
Did Amazon first started using the term SLAM, right?
Well, you're exactly right. And then it was interesting.
They were doing print and apply.
Exactly. There's a lot of acronyms around this whole area. But when I was there at the beginning as this industry group for the MHI. Started to develop. And if you don't know, MHI has about 15 different industry groups. And it's all around providing thought leadership and the promotion of trying to help organizations, their warehouse distribution centers or material handling. And it was identified by the MHI that this one was one of the most underdeveloped from an automation point of view. People were coming to them and saying, we don't really know how to automate that part of the warehouse. So about 4 years ago, a new industry group was developed, and we talked about names. I was there at the beginning. We talked about names, but we felt like SLAM was, first of all, easy to remember for people. Sure. And we knew it came from Amazon, but it wasn't copy. There was no copyright. There's no infringement there. There's no infringement there. So yeah, we chose it, and it's really been great. Like over the last 4 years, we've been the fastest growing industry group within the MHI industry, and we've got 30 organizations that are members of the SLAM industry group. And we feel like PSI has been one of the leaders in the development of this area, and we're getting a lot of positive feedback.
I mean, it's so interesting, right? Like there is so many things that go in between that little space, right? Like you got scanning, dimensioning, you got weight. You potentially would you consider some of the auto baggers and packers as part of that flow as well?
So the auto that can be SLAM, it kind of starts with either what you're either in totes and then putting it into a box or a bag, or you have the box erecting or automatic bagging machines. Yeah. It starts there, and then from there you're exactly right. You need check weighing, dimensioning. A lot of time, in many industries, there's documentation that either has to go in the box or on the box. We're doing a lot of work with healthcare and pharma industry, and there's so many new regulations. So we scan upstream and print and coalesce all of the documents that you need to go in the box, and it can be anything from packing slips to invoicing to instruction manuals that need to be with that specific product. And then along with that, of course, shipping, labeling, box closing, dunnage machines. Exactly. And then final sortation into gaylords, or, so that it's put into the right, whether it's going UPS, FedEx. So there's a lot of transactions that actually go into that last 100 feet, and it can be complex.
Now that's, again, from an education perspective, because we have done this in the past, right? And I've seen how complex it can end up getting when you try to do it, and finding the right partner to actually do it with as well, right? Like it's something when I did it the last time, it was a hodgepodge of equipment that we just brought together and made it happen, right? Yeah. Like someone's conveyor, someone's dimensioner, put some units on there and kind of flow it through. I guess you guys just specialized the end-to-end, and that's all you do, nothing outside of that.
It is, but we don't always start with, the Rolls Royce, right? We have to start at a volume that there's a return on investment at that point in time, understanding that there's probably growth. I mean, you look at the growth in e-commerce over the last, from 20 to 22, I guess it was growing at about 12 or 15% a year. But since 2022 to now, it's grown by 75 or 80% e-commerce shipments.
Okay.
And, people are scrambling to automate, but on the other hand, they want to see an ROI. And we're typically, in our area, we can typically get an ROI of 12 to 18 months. And that,
at what volume? You
do need some volume. I mean, typically, you need a volume of at least 500 to 1,000 packages a day.
Okay.
But often, where we're seeing peak periods, and if they have a severe peak periods, then they have to bring in a lot of manual labor. And that area of the distribution center is probably one of the biggest areas that they have to bring in temporary labor, which can be really challenging these days.
Okay. I think that's really interesting that like 1,000 orders, I wouldn't have thought 1,000 packages a day is where you kind of start considering a SLAM line, but it does from an ROI perspective make sense.
Yeah, but you're not putting in maybe the entire thing. There's always one area, depending on what you're shipping, where there is a true real bottleneck. It could be as easy as the dunnage area, or it could be that final labeling, print on demand labeling, or it could be, you've got, we don't have that many shipments, but we got between 3 and 6 documents going in the box on each shipment. And, we need 3 people there to figure out which documents to go in. And we've got solutions that kind of get people started, but we also, I think the important thing is that if you put something in, you got to be ready, that if they grow, that next element, you have a plan. You have a plan for that next element you can actually predict where the next bottleneck is going to come if they grow by 20 or 30 or 40%.
That's very interesting. Thank you.
And I think that, it all makes sense as far as like the timing and why there's such a focus on this now. Like if I look back at some of my experiences and if you look at a facility, an e-commerce direct-to-consumer fulfillment facility, most likely 80% of your labor cost is going to be in that pick and pack.
Yeah.
And, 20-ish% will be in the last 100 feet.
Mm-hmm.
So where everyone was looking to solve for first was where the most labor was, right? So that's in that pick and pack.
Yeah.
But I could tell you through personal experience that as soon as you solve for that, you just shifted the bottleneck. Like you solve for labor and shortage and increased efficiency. But then we would come against like, holy cow, we need 15 more pack stations because we've just shifted the bottleneck to another location in the warehouse. So now that the adoption of automation and robotics is solving for some of that pick and pack,
exactly.
Now we've got to solve, and that's exactly what I see you're doing in the last 100 feet.
And that's why it's the newer part, because a lot of people have invested into that automatic storage and retrieval, AMRs, the kind of fancy stuff, the auto stores, and
sure.
It's really been, it has created that bottleneck. I mean, it's great to have all that stuff, but if it can't get out the door, then you really haven't solved the entire problem.
That's right. I think another, I stopped by your booth just for a few minutes yesterday, and I thought what was interesting too, and maybe it was, in the first few processes of the example that you're demoing, was the image capture. So
yeah.
Surely, obviously, the amount of volume will dictate how long the ROI is. But if you're selling high-end medical equipment or product and you're having issues with whether it's damage or validation of what's in the box, I think that actually is another problem that doesn't have anything to do with volume if you're selling a $5,000 piece of equipment.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. It actually, we started to get involved with that about a little before I came aboard, about a year before we got with a cell phone customer. And what was happening is, they had about 2,000 shipments a day of cell phones. But what they had is they had customers calling them saying, "Hey, I didn't get my cell phone. You said you got the shipment, but you didn't get the cell phone." And so they automatically shipped out another cell phone, because they had no way of verifying it. So we worked with them and created some technology around that, so that we would be taking a picture of that box with the cell phone in. And it really, it solved that problem. It went to zero. It went to zero because the people that were calling, you could prove it,
right?
So that was how that. And since that time, it's evolved, and it's a really valuable part of the SLAM area.
That's awesome. One of the other things that you were discussing. So we are here at Modex, MHI. Under the hood, there is also various different industries that have their own councils, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Can you explain that a little bit? Because you lead one of the SLAM councils, and I would like to first intersect because it's kind of new for us.
Yeah. So, there's about 15 different industry groups that fall under the MHI umbrella. And it's everything from racking to automatic storage and retrieval. There's a solution groups that do a combination. There's a caster group. That's part of material handling. And they've, so some of them have been around for a very long time. And some of them are newer, like us, SLAM. And really, it's all about getting organizations to create awareness and thought leadership around how to improve that portion of the material handling business.
Right.
And it's everything from, doing promotional, actually one of the things that we like to do is get end users involved and talking to the groups and talking about their frustrations or their pain areas of that portion of their material handling. And SLAM was developed because there was so much emphasis on automation in other areas of the distribution center, but it was identified that this was becoming a real bottleneck and it needed some attention.
Makes a lot of sense. Appreciate you sharing that because that's new for both of us.
Definitely. And so the council does not include sortation, does it?
It's actually sortation is found in the solutions group.
Okay.
So there's kind of that umbrella solutions group, which is actually a very large. It's probably the largest group of the MHI, but they're found there. Now, I think we have one sortation group. Our company also was part of. Yeah, we have one that's part of the SLAM group as well, because we have that bit of sortation at the end.
That's we call it the last 100 feet, but it's not really the last 100 feet because if you're going to do something of that nature, and again, I know you as PSI, you do sort to Gaylords.
Yeah.
But like when you get into complex sorts where you need a big shipping sorter, that's a different, and again, you can have 4 or 5 lines of PSI running without the sort on tail, right?
Right.
And you can connect it to
it all comes down to that. We actually just have one. It's a very simple sort into the Gaylords.
Yeah.
It's not as complex as that sortation earlier on in the distribution center. The one area that's interesting in ours is that the software integration of our area into a larger WMS or WES has become a lot simpler than it used to be. And, it's one area that we've had to focus hard on is the software development and making sure because we have so many different transactions and devices being connected and they're all coming from different we manufacture some of them, but we work with partners on others, but it all has to, we have to capture information from the warehouse management system because we have to decide, what needs to happen to that specific order.
Exactly.
And not everything needs to happen on every order, but you have to know that ahead of time. So the scan downstream and gathering that information, gathering it from the software, bringing it back, grabbing that information and doing the right transactions is a critical part of the process.
And I mean, sometimes you gotta bring in as part of the applying part of it, you can have the label beforehand, or you might have to call for the label in real time if you're doing rate shop, right?
Yeah. You still need a bit of time in there after you do the rate shop.
Exactly.
But and then you also need to scan. We on our equipment we do a final scan, even though we printed it well before. We scan about 15 seconds upstream, and then when it gets down to us. We scan it one last time to make sure that we've got the right documents going on the box or in the box. And if you don't, then it needs to be kicked out on a hospital lane, and those documents can't go into the next box because then you're totally.
Right.
Oh yeah.
So they get put in a hospital spot in our machine.
Jackpot.
Yeah.
Sense.
Well, Steve, what? For someone who's having bottleneck issues in the SLAM area, what's some advice or words of wisdom, or for those companies that are just trying to maybe start down the journey of solving for, optimizing that area of the warehouse? You've been doing it for a while. You guys have a ton of experience. Like what's that process look like? Any thoughts you could share?
Yeah, it does start with an assessment, right? And assessing, what areas, where is your true bottlenecks? Where is most of your costs going? Where are your errors? The SLAM, you automate your SLAM area, you're virtually eliminating errors. And that's a big part because you do not want the wrong products going to the wrong customer. And that often is where we're starting to get brought in is because of error rates. There's two real areas is error rates and also reduction of manual labor in the spot. That's really an assessment of those, where are your pain points, and then, bringing someone in to talk to, begin gathering, going to SLAM and kind of looking at some of the information,
Yeah, exactly. If you got like, 60 different kinds of boxes that can't run, and half of them can't run on conveyors, then probably you might want to look at a different option and see if your volumes actually for the remaining boxes actually make sense, right? Like,
and we work a lot with 3PLs too. Yeah. And they have a little different because they're serving their own customers, and their own customers want something different all the time, right? Yeah. A different labeling, some want it on the top, some want it on the side, some needs documents in the box, some don't. They're complex, but they're all solvable. And we, it's really evolved over the last 5 years, the technology in this area.
That's awesome.
That is awesome. So Steve, as we wrap this up and let you get back to your booth,
exactly.
Please share with the audience where they could go to follow you on social media, whether that's X or LinkedIn, wherever it might be, and where could they go to learn more about PSI Engineering?
Yeah, so our website, www.psiengineering.com. We're on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn. Tom Napier is probably the most active person
on LinkedIn.
But we're not hard to find. And although we're a Canadian organization, the majority of our business is in the U.S. We have people in the U.S. Our technicians are in the U.S. almost every day. And we also do a lot of work in Europe. And we have a really good installed base in Europe as well. So they are too. Canada is coming along. But thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Our pleasure.
It was a pleasure.
Yeah.
Lots to learn.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Steve.
All right.
Thank you.
As we bring another episode to a close here at Modex, we want to extend our gratitude to GNP Construction for their sponsorship of the podcast. If you're in need of top-notch, all-inclusive material handling solutions for logistics and commercial real estate, look no further than GNP Construction. Be sure to visit GANDPconstruction.com to discover your one-stop shop for turnkey MHE integrations.
Hi, I'm Acharya, CEO and co-founder of Fulfillment IQ, and I'm here with
Dan Coll, CRO and partner at Fulfillment IQ. We're the team behind the eCom Logistics podcast. Our mission is to provide you with genuine insights from our work alongside logistics leaders to help you improve your supply chain.
In the eCom Logistics podcast, we share the knowledge and the insights we've gained from working alongside amazing brands, retailers, 3PLs, and VCs, so you can make the most out of your supply chain journey.
If you like what you're hearing, we'd truly appreciate your support with a 5-star rating on your favorite podcasting channel. Your feedback not only keeps us going, but also helps others find the podcast. If you think Fulfillment IQ can assist you, or if you have an idea related to logistics, just reach out to us on LinkedIn. We're always up for a chat and ready to explore new possibilities together.
Stay tuned to the eCom Logistics podcast on your favorite podcast platform for fresh and practical insights into e-commerce and logistics. Until next time, let's keep making a difference.